the absurdity of America. I don't live in America. I'm a Canadian, but I came across this video, or did Zane suggest this video? I don't remember if Zane suggested this video or not, but I came across this and I was instantaneously intrigued. And also, yes, of course, before I forget, preamble. You don't need any introduction to dark matter. We've taken a look at several of his videos already, and I keep coming back to dark matter because I find him to be, like, for a liberal, because he is a liberal, right? He's a liberal. He's a bit of a lib, little libby cuck, you know. I don't necessarily have really much of a problem with liberals. I'm not like one of those annoying ass fucking Marxist Leninists who are just like, all liberals also get the wall because they would all work easily with fucking fascists. No, no, no. I think with someone like Dark Matter, at the very least, can be more inclined to left-leaning beliefs and systems, simply just due to the fact of the sheer rank absurdity, I guess, for like lack of a better term for what's being said here, but for like the sheer like ridiculousness of the current times that we find ourselves under, and in comparison to like a lot of other liberals, and like your neoliberals, there's no stock in those people, like those chorus enjoyers or whatever. I think they're all fundamentally just cooked. I think people like Destiny, cooked, completely cooked, subverted, would prefer to have fascists win instead. I feel like with people like Dark Matter, I guess for like some of the other like more establishment sort of like shilly democratic shill Democrats, those guys are cooked. Like all the chorus enjoyers, those guys are all fucking cooked. And for people like, well, not so much maybe with like Harry Sisson or like Dean Withers, I think they have good heads on their fucking shoulders. Although they probably, I don't know if they would agree necessarily with more leftist policy belief. I probably not, but I think for like actual people who believe in real like liberal values and beliefs, I think at the very least these people actually believe in liberal values and beliefs. And as much as lefties don't like this, the basis for socialism and communist fucking movements, generally speaking, is a belief in liberal values and in the values that were taught throughout the Enlightenment. I'm rambling here a little bit. To say the least, I treat dark matter and a lot of like liberals who I think are like actual liberals, because I don't think neoliberals are liberal. I think they're just conservatives. Even just like I've had it has said themselves. They are just MAGA light, which I agree with. It's good that they're making this fucking recognition because they are just MAGA light. You can use whatever terminology you can. Personally, I don't like saying MAGA light in my personal opinion because they're just conservatives. They're just conservatives. Just say they're conservatives. The Democrats are a conservative party. Period. End of story. Like that's not ridiculous or hyperbolic. Any like political enjoyer would just be like, yeah, yeah. No, you're just correct. Yeah, they're just conservatives. I'm rambling on here a little bit again. I put a lot of like faith and stock in liberals like dark matter because I think it is good to always have a barometer to see what they think on a lot of, I would say, what they think of material conditions on the ground, specifically within the United States of America, because that's what I'm assuming dark matter is probably going to talk about here. Talking about how there's such a ridiculous amount of corporate capture within the United States of America, and how people like to simp basically for fucking corporations. Sort of like the consumerist nature of the United States of America, but also in knowing dark matter at this point, he's probably also going to talk and touch on how religious, because for a first world country, America is very religious, which is not very normal. Like, there's all of this like talk constantly by all these like dumbass fucking evangelicals having like a panic attack, talking about like the youth, they're not going to church anymore. They're not going to church. They don't want to go to listen to the gospel of fucking Jesus or whatever gobbledygook they say. that's not exactly the case. The problem that a lot of people have, generally speaking, with people who, at the very least, I think, like, practice religion, I suppose, practice faith, sure, yeah, that's probably the more correct term, who are practitioners of faith, a lot of people are, I think, are just more so rather sick and tired of the amount of people who, generally speaking, are, I think, fakes. Honestly, I think fakes is probably the best way to put it. Because there's a lot of fucking fakers out there. Let's be quite honest here. There are so many people who do not actually, who pretend to believe in the gospel of fucking Jesus Christ, but don't practice any of that shit whatsoever. And I'm looking at Protestant fucking evangelicals. Trust me, I have way more faith in a person who's actually like a practicing Catholic or a practicing Orthodox who, in terms of like a lot of the things they have to say about scriptures and lessons within the Bibles, than I ever would from a fucking Protestant. Okay, these people are psychotic. They believe in hyper individualism, in a ideology that is supposed to preach and talk about good lessons to keep in life in order to make it to the pearly gates in heaven, and also talking about like how maintenance of community fundamentally creates stronger bonds amongst, well, other people and individuals. Something which evangelicals and Protestants have just outright fucking rejected. And I blame fucking King Henry for this shit. All because he wanted to get a divorce from his fucking wife, and the Catholic Church said no. And he was just like, I really, really, really want to get that fucking divorce. Fuck you, King Henry. Was it King Henry? Boy Meets Minnie, do you remember? I think it was King Henry. I could be kind of wrong here. I'm kind of rambling on it here a little bit. But why don't we get the video? Henry VIII. Thank you, Boy Meets Minnie.
Our society is becoming absolutely ludicrous because of the greedy and power hungry.
True.
Let me begin with an example from my own life and then move on to the big ones. So please bear with me. I am prone to skin cancer. My dad had it. I've had a couple of small problematic spots removed from my back. Nothing serious, just outpatient procedures that I was fully awake during, and left a couple of scars on my back.
I can
Recently,
only imagine how expensive
I
those
caught
are.
one early. So I went to the dermatologist, and this time they didn't even have to make an incision. They just froze it off. And while I was there, I asked about the mole on my face. You might be able to see it in my previous videos, but it might be difficult to spot on video. It was right about there. It was basically a simple raised area of lighter colored skin. It always bothered me, more so the way it felt than the way it looked, because it was this hard lump on my face. So I asked the doc if he could get rid of that too. So he did. He did a great job. I didn't even need anesthetic. He froze it right off of my face. You can't even tell it was there. It turns out that the spot on my back was covered by insurance. My portion of that bill was $133.
Oh, the fucking spot on the face is not going to be covered by insurance, is it? So, okay. Generally speaking, if we're talking about this, focusing this on the avenue of fucking healthcare. Well, okay, he hasn't finished his point yet, but that's where I'm guessing that this is going. Because if you were to do that in Canada, it'd be free. Obviously, well, like $130 for the getting rid of the more problematic spot on the back. You know, that's still sucks that you have to pay for that, obviously, but that's not the worst thing on the planet, right? You know, focus on the positives and whatnot. But if I were to just also ask the doctor, be like, hey, can you also like take a look at this other spot? And they're just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. That's totally cool. Let's chill. We have time. That's whatever. And they also just like freeze it off and get rid of it. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. You know, you don't have to pay money for that either. That just gets also thrown in, and it's just like done easy because you're already there. You might as well just get it over with, blah 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 kind of a thing. If you're like showing concerns, and done easy, very very done and simple. I don't know how many studies it needs to be pointed out to, specifically with like Medicare for All, how much money it would save basically everyone. And the only reason why it's not implemented is because of lobbying from all of these huge pharmaceutical companies, hospitals as well, a ton of differing corporations and, honestly, for lack of a better term, rapacious mafia middlemen basically just want to get in the way from you and your doctor because guess what? There's a lot of money to be made from things that have what is known as inelastic demand. Inelastic demand, rather simply, is demand for products and okay, I don't want to say products. I'm just going to say services and amenities. Services and amenities that pretty much will always have a demand for them. For example, you're always going to need food. You're always going to need a roof over your head. You're always going to need, honestly, I would even throw in like internet in here because the internet is so integral to people being able to participate, broadly speaking, within society. You're always going to need healthcare and water. Yes, thank you, Alex. Commodifying these things, generally speaking, leads to really, really, really bad fucking outcomes. Really, really, really bad outcomes. Because corporations, they know that if they have, and generally speaking, how it works very often in North America is the corporations, the companies will split off areas into certain segments and they'll operate in those areas. They negotiate with one another. They'll be like, oh, there's like 6 different companies. In reality, they're all in cahoots with one another because this is the exact same thing that happens with ISPs, but they're all in cahoots with one another to basically figure out ways to fuck you, the consumer, over as much as fucking possible. And there's only one thing that can fix this, and that is regulation. The state has to step in order to do something about it. No individual fucking gobbledygook bullshit. No company is going to be able to take care of, like, you can't make any switches. Like, for example, could I switch the people who provide, like, my water heater for me or my water for me or anything like that? No, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that because it's always been, it's like, oh, you want us to replace your water heater? Well, the current building that you're with has a contract with us. You can't fucking replace that. You're stuck with our fucking service and you're going to be stuck paying our rates. I'm just using water heater as like an example because it's one specific company that works in this entire building that I live in, yada yada yada. It'd be a huge pain in the ass to fucking switch to a different company. Not that I have any problems with the company that I currently fucking work with for water heating. Just a random example, right? The rates are pretty cheap. I pay like $20 every 3 months. It's cheap as balls, or some shit like that. Whatever. I digress. The thing is, with a lot of these corporations, they know that since they are the only option that is in that area. Same thing with food deserts. Food deserts are a big example of this. Like, just think about this for like literally 3 seconds. The richest, most powerful country on the planet has like segments, parts of the fucking country where there are just no grocery stores and people can't shop for food. Genuinely fucking insane. But again, I digress. Where due to the profit motive that exists for a lot of these things which have inelastic demand, you're always going to need food, you're always going to need shelter, you're always going to need electricity, heating, water, all of this stuff. You're always going to need it. Always, 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 always. The fact that there are only like 2 or 3 companies in the United States of America that work across the entirety of that fucking country that provide those services, and they're all in cahoots with one another to split up the country so they can all make as much profit for themselves as much as possible, is genuinely fucking insane. And there's only one way to fix such a problem. The federal government has to step in and break up those companies, like Teddy Roosevelt style. Like, all right, monopolies, yeah, you guys are getting broken up. We don't give a shit. We're gonna sue the fuck out of all of you until you start breaking up. We don't give a shit. Like, pay your taxes and also break up these fucking goddamn companies, because then with competition, like, I'm gonna do the whole fucking capitalist spiel here. With competition in the areas, those companies are going to have to be competing for your fucking dollar, which means they have to provide better services, better deals. They're not going to be able to make as much money. And that's the main fucking problem here. These companies, the food companies, the water companies, all these different companies and shit like that. They know that you're going to have to go to them, and they can set the terms and conditions to whatever they want, which is, to me, is just, it's one of those things where it is just patently fucking absurd. It's just like, dog, if there are things that you just need in order to be able to live, it should just be baseline. Like, the state should just take care of it through taxpayer dollars, and it shouldn't be a fucking problem. And not only would you, the consumer, be able to save a lot more money for instead of having to pay exorbitant prices for things that you need to in order to be able to survive, but it also will save businesses more money. It'll help save the government more money. It is just a general benefit for everyone if all of these stupid mafia middlemen just get cut out from the middle. That's it. Because, like, think about it. Like, for 3 seconds, Americans like to pretend that they are super small government. They don't like bureaucracy or whatever. Like, think about this for 3 seconds. How many fucking companies do you have to talk with, for example, for medical insurance? There's like shit that for co-pays, for all the deductibles, for all the fucking premiums, all of these like differing things, and you have to talk with all of these fucking motherfucking bullshit for differing companies that administer all these different payments. Why deal with any of that fucking bullshit when you can just have the government give a baseline plan paid through tax dollars, get rid of all these fucking goddamn companies? If there's certain people that need to be transferred over in order to work with the government, you can just do that. Bernie Sanders has a plan for this. I think same with Rashida Tlaib, I think. Or was it Pramila Jayapal that had the 2-year Medicare for All plan? One of the Democrats within the House that has this all pretty much perfectly laid out, perfectly financially solvent, and just, it would be done and so easy to be fucking implemented. Why is it not implemented? Because of a lack of political will. Because unfortunately, all of these fucking corporations, the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, all of these motherfuckers have an iron grip on the balls of fucking Congress because of shit like fucking Citizens United, making it basically illegal to fucking bribe the government. Because there's only one way to take care of these problems. It has to be like an NHS style fucking system. It has to be a system like us. And as a result, we in like the UK have some of the best fucking health outcomes in the entirety of the fucking world. But there's just a lack of political will within the United States of America.
And insurance covered the rest, which was $254 that they paid. Fine. Then the doctor tells me that the growth on my face was not covered by my insurance because they considered it cosmetic. So, unfortunately, I was fully responsible.
Oh, also, by the way, all those doctors who have to do all the fucking paperwork with the insurance companies, guess what they do not have to do anymore under Medicare for All? All that paperwork with the fucking goddamn insurance companies. Like, think about it this way. Do you really want your doctor doing all this, like, stupid calls and paperwork necessary to check if this particular procedure is fucking covered under your fucking insurance, to determine if you have to pay, like, $50,000 for some random dumbass fucking procedure? Ask yourself that question. Or would you prefer to have your doctor be able to just take care of your fucking problems if you say that there's a problem? I know what I'm choosing.
For that separate bill. That sounded like bad news to me. Logically, you might assume that it was about $387, which was the total cost of the exact same procedure on my back, which didn't even take as long as the one on my face did.
Oh, I don't think
But
so.
You know what it was? It was $10 in full without insurance. If I did not have insurance that day, I would have spent $20 for both procedures rather than the $143 I did pay. In other words, my insurance made that doctor's visit
Oh, okay. So I see what he's saying. Yeah, so instead, the face procedure was what he paid $140. Okay, I misunderstood there for a second. I'm about to say, he's like, I only paid $10 for that. I mean, that's not that bad, but still, the fact that he has to go through all this fucking hassle for no reason is incredibly fucking stupid.
100% more expensive for me. And I'm not alone. In many cases,
Silly.
it's significantly less expensive to not have insurance. Not only are you paying tons of money every month just to have insurance, but you're paying much higher medical bills when you do have it. So why get it? Well, if something
It's
very
true.
serious happens to you, it could result in hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in medical bills. In that case, you would need insurance to help. So, in our greedy and corrupt society, it's kind of a necessary evil. We were insured.
I also believe that parts. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Boy Meets Spinny, but isn't there provisions within the ACA that says you have to be on medical insurance? I don't remember exactly, right? Because there's two parts of Obamacare, which people very often leave out. There's the patient protection part of Obamacare, and of course the Affordable Care Act. There's two parts of it. So the Affordable Care Act is what is supposed to help you make it easier to get insurance and whatnot, and the patient protection part is also the stuff that eliminates a lot of the arbitrary bullshit that insurance companies would argue in order to not provide you with care. So, for example, the Patient Protection Act specifically eliminated the pre-existing conditions because I don't know if people know this, but before the ACA PPA was passed, it was basically the Wild West for healthcare in America because, like, for example, let's say, and this is, I think, an example that Sam Cedar uses consistently. Hypothetically speaking, you get into a car crash. Tragic, terrible, blah, blah, blah. And you go to the hospital, you get the surgery to fix you up, yada, yada. Goes perfectly, goes great, fantastic. Uh-oh. Well, now you have to start thinking about, like, all right, how much do I need to pay in order to do that? Well, if before the PPA and the ACA, what would happen is an insurance company would look at the claim and just be like, well, it says in your medical history that your grandfather had like super cancer at some point in time, so you just got into that car accident. Well, we can't fucking insure you because of that pre-existing condition, and they can just fucking argue that within court if you were to sue hypothetically, and they would be able to win that shit because again in America the contract is king. It's like you've already signed the contract in order to have that company provide you with fucking insurance, and anything that's fucking stipulated in there has to be followed to the fucking letter. So the insurance company essentially has ultimate fucking control in that particular instance. And if they just make the arguments like, well, your grandfather used to have like, I don't know, toe cancer at some point, and more than likely the accident was caused because of that pre-existing condition, so we can't cover you for the surgery. Is that argument nonsensical? Yes. But unfortunately, contracts are king within America. Anything that's stipulated and written within a contract will be followed to the fucking letter. No, they don't penalize you. Only some states require you to declare proof of insurance in states like Texas, or state taxes rather, like California does. Gotcha, Boy Spinny.
Through my wife's job. YouTube does not provide insurance. Her job did, but she still had to pay about $600 a month through her job for insurance, while her employer covered the rest. Recently, however, she had to leave her job. She was there for 20 years and left on good terms, but the stress of it was badly negatively affecting her, so now she's on the hunt for a different job. So we're
like, again, just perfectly from what Dark Matter is saying there, because I completely forgot about that aspect. Businesses pay a lot of money for health insurance. Like, when I say that these guys are just mafia middlemen that just exist to just fucking extort the fuck out of basically everyone, I sincerely mean it. Medicare for All would make it such that businesses would save a significant amount of money, would be able to make a lot more money either paying people better wages or paying for better facilities, better services, more products, what have you, instead of having to deal with all of this like random fucking gobbledygook from these stupid mafia middlemen who essentially just want to extort a bunch of fucking money from you. It's genuinely fucking insane. The current healthcare that exists within the United States of America. It's actually fucking insane. It's just a racket. Like, I have no idea how else to describe this besides a fucking racket. And like I said before, a lot of the stuff that I'm saying here in terms of the policy that fixes this, it's quite popular within America. Majority of people agree with a Medicare for all system, with a fully public healthcare fucking system. Problem is, why is it not implemented? Lack of political will. People just within Congress, within power, oh well, they get paid a lot of money by all these fucking pharmaceutical companies, all the insurance companies, hospital chain companies as well, in order to basically have the current status quo be maintained because they make a killing in terms of the profits. Because again, like I said before, you get into an accident or you're sick in any way, shape, or form, there is no amount of money that you will fucking spare in order to pay for that shit. Like, no amount of money will be spared for your fucking health or for your family's health, for example. The companies, they know this and are exploiting people as a result.
We're a one-income household now. We looked into Cobra, which would have allowed us to keep our group insurance with United Healthcare through her job, but our monthly cost would have gone from $600 a month to $3,000 a month. And that's supposed to be a good deal. That's $36,000.
Thanks, Nancy Pelosi, for maintaining fucking Cobra subsidies, you fucking bitch.
The year. That's the cost of a new car every year. I can't afford that. $36,000 is more than a lot of Americans make in an entire year. So currently, we are without medical insurance. If we get seriously injured, end up with bad sickness or something, we just have to declare bankruptcy and have our credit ruined through no fault of our own, which might not have been the case if not for Donald Trump. Because the Trump administration plans to stop states from passing laws that keep medical debt off credit reports. Are we winning yet? Is this what they meant by making America great?
Wait. Oh, what state does he live in? I don't remember if he ever said what state he lives in. I think he lives in Indiana. I could be completely wrong about that. I think it's a Republican state that he lives in. I'm not sure, though. I could be completely fucking wrong. I could be completely and entirely, utterly wrong. Yeah, that was a thing, right? Like, because I think that was a policy that Biden implemented during his administration, right? Like, you were able to take bankruptcies off of your credit card to not completely, like, ruin your fucking life. Of course, Donald Trump takes that away because, like, ew, fucking Biden did that? Therefore, I have to take it away. But this isn't just, like, an issue specifically only to Donald Trump. A lot of it is also because of the general incrementalism of the fucking Democrats and not being more pursuant and aggressive and actually having good fucking policy that everyone would find to be incredibly popular. Like I said before, the ACA subsidies being maintained is popular, right? The ACA itself, in terms of its better provisions, are popular, but I don't know what's the approval rating of the ACA. I assume it's not that high because it was just an incrementalist change. Like, quick reminder here, the ACA was a heritage foundation sort of idea and plan that was implemented by Mitt Romney when he was governor of Massachusetts, right? So Mitt Romney is the guy who originally implemented this plan. Obama just basically took that shit and like unironically just sort of expanded it like nationwide, had it made basically kept in most of the provisions, but made it such that it can work for all of the states and the federal government and a bunch of other I guess like facilities. It would just be the states and the federal government, and would make it work nationwide. And he just took the idea from there and put it like this. A quick reminder, and I did a video on this, Barack Obama himself said a couple months ago at this point, but not that long ago, that he could have had a Medicare for all system implemented. He could have done it. He just chose not to. He had the power. He had the supermajority in the Senate and a majority within the House. He said, like, let me be clear. In hindsight, we should have probably passed Medicare for all. And he just didn't do it. Just didn't do it. Complete utter fucking failure. He had all of the power needed, majority within the House and a supermajority within the Senate, a filibuster-proof majority. But he didn't do it. Why? Lack of political will. That's all that it is, right? He just didn't have the fucking cojones to fucking slap them on the fucking goddamn table and be like, all right, you stupid anti-abortion Democrats, well, you're gonna listen to me, or I'm gonna make your life a living hell within Congress. And just do like a little bit of blackmail, a little bit of browbeating, saying like, if you don't support my agenda, the mandate that I have, that I secured with this great victory in this election, you're gonna be out of a job real soon. And that would have been that. Would have been over, right? Because even the ACA had a lot of troubles passing because of stipulation. I forget the name of the Democratic senator in particular, but well, not only that, Alex, like, yeah, Trump would not have won in 2016, but also if he didn't bail out the fucking banks, Trump 2016, dead in the fucking water. It'd be going nowhere. Like, I wouldn't have gone into fucking politics if that would have happened. So it's just like, no, it would have been over. The Republicans would not be able to win with in like a generation. It would be fucking over. It'd be a 1,000-year Democratic fucking Reich or some shit. Like, unironically, be like 1,000-year Democrat rule. It'd be over. The Republicans would be completely dead in the fucking water, and they'd be forced to the left. Unfortunately, when a lot of people say that Democrats are controlled opposition, it's shit like that where I'm just like, I don't agree with it, but I can become partial to such an argument like that because they'll just do really terrible politics like that consistently. Where it's just like they have such an easy and obvious winner. It's so easy, it's so obvious, it's just like right there, plopped on your fucking lap, and it's just like, oh, well, that's easy. Holy shit. Wow, this is just like the easiest fucking thing on the goddamn planet. Huh. Great. It's just a political winner. It's popular. Everyone fucking agrees with it. The only people who don't agree with it are just like stupid, annoying insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies who nobody likes anyway. So it's just like, it's an easy political winner, and it's just www. Easiest shit on the fucking planet. Money talks too much, especially in Congress. So therefore, yeah, that shit's not fucking happening because the Benjamins do most of the talking. I'm kind of going off on a little bit of a ramble here. I don't remember exactly what my overall point is here. Healthcare in the United States really fucking sucks balls because, like, just to give you a anecdote again, Canadian speaking here. If the Conservatives try to touch healthcare, they try to privatize that shit anyway. We've had free healthcare since the 70s. It's a done deal. It's over. They're gonna die as a political party. They're already like treading water barely as a party right now under Pierre Poilievre's leadership. There have been a lot of fucking conservative MPs who have been talking about wanting to leave the party because they just feel suffocated under Pierre Poilievre. Probably talk about that at some point with like all the liberal budget stuff that got passed, blah, 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 blah. But that's like Canadian politics stuff. We're not focusing on that right now. If they were to go after healthcare, there would be riots in the streets all across Canada. They'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? No, fuck off. Don't touch that shit. Because it forces the Conservatives, because they don't agree with giving, like, they don't agree with free healthcare. Of course not. They want the poor to just die and suffer. They don't give a shit about any of this. They are forced to have to agree with free healthcare, and this is a way to drag the Overton window back further to the left, away from the right. It's such a easy, like, political winner. It's the simplest thing on the planet possible, but both sides are just conservatives or worse, or fascists, and they would prefer to just have the poor suffer, because there's one thing that talks way, way more in comparison to individuals within the country. That's money from corporations. Again, Citizens United, and a bunch of other shit from the Supreme Court that has made it such that the only thing that matters to these people is getting their next fucking paychecks.
Great again. It's absolutely insane that anyone thought that Trump was ever for the average working American. He has done nothing but hurt Americans over and over and over again. Now, I don't consider myself to be.
Just to quickly throw out here, because he is correct here, but this is just general with the Republican Party, right? This isn't like, because this is okay. This is generally a problem that I have with a lot of liberals. They treat Trump as if he's an aberrance. No. Trump is a byproduct. This was the intended end goal for the Republican Party ever since fucking Ronald Reagan. Ever since the embrace of fucking evangelical like Christianity since in the fucking 60s by the broader Republican Party. This was always the end goal for them specifically, right? Like Trump is just the sort of I don't know if it's like final evolution of this, because it could technically go further, but the current sort of like moral aberrance. And there's only one way for this to just essentially get completely nipped in the bud, right? Just to get this all done with. And that is with a rejection of fucking the power that corporations have within the fucking government. Because again, who's the one who has made it such that these that the corporations have significantly more and more power? That was fucking Reagan. Reagan gave so much more power for the rich and corporations during his tenure. And Trump is just again, like Boyman Smitty said, a fuck-ass byproduct coming out of Ronald Reagan, right? It's all culminated to this sort of like, honestly, just wretched, miserable moment that we currently find ourselves under politically.
Poor, yet insurance has become like an unaffordable luxury item for me. And the uninsured, like myself, inadvertently end up driving up costs of medical procedures and insurance for those who can afford it until they can no longer afford it as well. And then they drive up costs even more. It's like a societal cancer, a malignant growth that keeps spreading. And the Republicans are so opposed to fixing it, maybe because they're financially entwined with the industry, that they're refusing to run the government, refusing to negotiate. And we refuse.
How long ago is this? Oh, this is in reference to the fucking government. Yeah, so this is all in reference to the fucking government shutdown, which the Democrats decided to cave on. Man, it's going to be, well, as of time of recording this, it is currently December. It's time to see if the undue good faith that the Democrats are giving to the fucking Republican Party within the Senate, because keep in mind, Mike Johnson has already said that even if the Senate passes anything, he's not going to bring up the bill for a vote within the fucking House. So, again, like I said before, there is no reason to negotiate with fucking terrorists. Republicans are terrorists. Do not fucking negotiate with them. There is no point in negotiating with them. They have proven time and time again that they do not operate in good faith. So why give them any good faith? They don't deserve any of it. But I digress. It's because Democrats are also cucked by the exact same interests that the Republicans are also adherent to. Pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, etc., etc. The reasoning, like, to operate under the assumption that those fucking stupid 8 dumb fucking Democrats decided to cross over for, like, honestly nothing. They got nothing out of it. It was just absurd. It was so absurd that even fucking Ezra Klein came out and said, like, why did the Democrats do this? I don't know why, Ezra. It's because you keep allowing them to be able to do shit like this over and over again. Like, and you don't want to hold any of the Democrats to account. You have some fucking responsibility in this as well, Ezra. Like, take some fucking culpability for once, Ezra. But I digress. I really despise fucking people like Ezra Klein. But the reason why these people did this is because they're all just cucked by the exact same fucking interests. Pharmaceutical companies, military-industrial complex, and the like. It's all just, again, as George Carlin himself said, it's one big club, and your dumbass ain't in it.
use to punish corruption anymore. So they're currently getting away with it. Rather than fix it, rather than do that work, they do the work of compiling propaganda that blames everyone but themselves. People like Speaker Mike Johnson, who is currently blocking the release of the Epstein files, by the way, say things like, the Democrats could end the shutdown right now, as if that's not also true of the Republicans. They can end it right now. So how is that a point to be made? Let's be clear about what is actually happening right now. The Republicans are fighting tooth and nail for the insurance companies at the expense of the average American, and they're creating as much propaganda as possible to shift the blame onto the Democrats, who are trying to force them to stop insurance premiums from skyrocketing, which is exactly what they're set to do. Poor people.
Well, again, it's because, like, for the Republican Party, they just want to play politics, and they just want to benefit the fucking corporations, right? That's all that they fucking care about. They've never cared about anything else. Like I said before, like, if it's for the express purpose of causing the suffering of millions upon millions of people, you can very, very handily rely on a Republican to cause as much suffering as possible for millions upon millions of fucking people. Very, very like, that's a bet that you can take pretty much every single day of the week.
People who are still Republicans at this point are either blinded by hatred, hopelessly indoctrinated, cripplingly stupid, or all of the above. Everything is worse for everyone except for the top 10%, and especially the top 1%, because that's where all of our money is being funneled. Trump's attempt to normalize sending the military into American cities really has nothing to do with crime. How could it? It's a completely false narrative. But there has to be a motive. So what could be the real reason? It could be a couple of things. He's been doing a lot to manipulate upcoming elections, for instance, picking up right where he left off in 2020, which is one of the many reasons it was the worst of ideas to re-elect this guy who belongs in prison. And one theory I've heard is that he might want the military in place in predominantly blue areas during the midterms to suppress their vote. So he's trying.
Yes, he's talked about this before, right? He wants to have a rapid response sort of. Honestly, I'm just going to call him a gang. Yeah, he wants to have a rapid response gang who's like basically ready at like the drop of a fucking hat to do what exactly? I don't know, be fucking poll watchers. Genuinely fucking insane. Genuinely fucking insane. It's just like, why the fuck do you need all these people here to do fucking poll watching, Trump? That's very, very strange. Oh, because in reality, people like Trump knows that a lot of his policies and a lot of the things that he believes in is and are quite fucking unpopular. And that in reality, people don't really like a lot of the shit that Trump does with the military or with the in terms of the rule of law and the Constitution, all this shit. Nobody fucking likes any of this stuff. He's very unpopular. So again, instead of wanting to face the music, fuck it. Since he feels like no one's going to stop him anyways, so why not just cheat instead? By the way, it's a stupid idea. I wouldn't put it past him, but it will literally have the opposite effect. Oh, 1000%, Alex. But has that stopped Trump before? January 6th was a really stupid idea, but he still did it anyways.
Trying to normalize their presence now. But it could also be to preempt the unrest to come. The inevitable unrest that always follows the looting of a society by the corrupt few at the top. He's preparing. The whole thing is one big goddamn heist, the biggest heist in human history, and we're currently allowing it. But the question is, how much are we willing to accept? What level of existence are we willing to accept? How much worse will we allow it to get before people rise up? I don't know. And they don't know either. I think that's why they're starting to prepare now. You see, their power is illusory. It's all based on money, which is conceptual. The people, however, are physically real. If the people rose up, there's nothing they could do about it, and they know that. So they have to be conniving and Machiavellian. And currently, we're allowing them to be, most likely because they've inundated us with very effective propaganda. Our society allows billionaires to decide that poor people can't have food. That is a broken society. During the government shutdown, millions of Americans are unsure if they're going to see their next paycheck, yet they're expected to show up at work anyway and keep the engines of our economy running. Meanwhile, wealthy members of Congress are...
Not to mention, again, another thing that was fucking happening during the government shutdown. What was not getting funded? SNAP. SNAP was not getting fucking funded. Unironically, people were just allowed to go fucking hungry within the United States of America For what reasoning exactly? And because one dude basically wanted to use food as a political weapon in order to benefit politically from the fact that people need food in order to be able to eat, right? People need to be able to eat, so why don't we use that against the fucking Democrats in the shutdown? Genuinely fucking insane, by the way.
Still getting government paychecks they don't even need while not even showing up to work. Government work and assistance for the average American grinds to a halt while the $400 million construction of the White House ballroom continues without interruption, bulldozing the historic East Wing just to do it. And the idiots, grifters, influencers, and propagandists shamelessly and enthusiastically defend all of it. The same people who complained about how previous administrations merely decorated the White House. This one gets to literally bulldoze it, though, because they sold all their principles long ago. You can never trust them again. Never, ever believe a word they say ever again. They justify their cruelty by calling the people getting food benefits welfare queens and pretend that they're all frauds. Let's be clear.
Again, keep in mind, that's a fucking classic from Reagan right there. They're trotting out the old Reaganite fucking propaganda because, again, I've said this concept before during the government shutdown specifically, in terms of how not just Republicans how they think, but how conservatives think. Generally speaking, if they can cause the suffering of minorities much more in comparison to the in comparison to the suffering that the privileged have, like the privileged races, the privileged majority, or what have you, if they can cause a little bit of suffering to them, but way more suffering to minorities that they hate, they will take that trade any day of the week. Any day of the week. Because again, for the Republicans, there is only one thing that these motherfuckers fundamentally care about. It's the fucking racism.
They're calling 43 million Americans frauds, but not the president they enthusiastically support, who has been guilty of fraud on a massive scale repeatedly throughout his life. And many of the victims of his countless scams and pump and dump schemes have been his own supporters. They're calling 43 million Americans frauds, over 80% of whom have children and rely on those food benefits to feed them. Yet the America First, family values people are against it. That's how ridiculous the narrative is. But such unfettered greed and cruelty can't have anything other than ridiculous narratives to justify it. The U.S. Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, on Halloween tweeted, quote, "Trick, teachers' unions, treat, closing the Department of Education." Unquote.
Genuinely insane, by the way.
Wouldn't that put her...
If the fucking Department of Education gets closed, by the way, the downstream effects from that would be disastrous for millions upon millions of fucking poor people. But again, like I said before, if the Trump administration, if conservatives can cause the suffering of minorities, racial minorities, in comparison to the more privileged races, that being white people, they will take that trade any day of the week because it causes a lot more suffering for, people that they already don't really like as a sort of a minority to begin with anyways.
Out of a job. Of course. That's why she's there. She doesn't need that job. It's not her passion. She doesn't care about it. She is, in fact, a billionaire. So losing that job would not matter to her in the slightest. She was a former pro wrestling executive, the spouse of Vince McMahon, as if you needed any more evidence that we're currently living in idiocracy. She is meant to be a useless placeholder. And she was put there by people who claim to care about a meritocracy. She was put there by those who claimed that we should hire the best people for the job and warned us that the dangers of wokeness and DEI would bring us incompetence. Yet there are people out there who care deeply about children, understand how they learn, studied the best methods to meet their educational needs, and devoted their lives to those pursuits. Yet who do the meritocracy people put in charge? A billionaire show business executive who wants to burn it all to the ground and who will be totally insulated from any negative consequences of doing that. That's who they picked. People...
I'm glad that a lot of liberals are starting to come to these realizations, because this has always been, because again, even if a technocrat was put into a charge of these positions, it would slightly really it would help. It would be significantly better in comparison to billionaire fucking stooges. Like, let's not get it twisted. But even then, like, all these like liberal fucking technocrats are not going to be capable of meeting the moment and being able to fix the deep systemic fucking issues, because again, for a lot of these people, it's just going to be a little bit of nibbling around the edges to slightly improve everything, but make sure that the same gravy train keeps going. Like I've said before, and I'll say it again, there is one main fundamental problem with all this, and that is the basis of the economy. It is because of capital, it is because of the rich, because of just how much outsized control that they have. Deal with that first, and then you'll see the material conditions throughout the United States of America significantly improve.
With extreme wealth have the problem of finding places to put their money. It's too much to put into a bank account. So they have no choice but to purchase investments, usually in the form of securities or real estate.
Bonds.
They buy up houses all over the country and then let them sit empty. Then the value of those properties increases by hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars simply for sitting empty and doing nothing. Meanwhile, we have poor people working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, barely making ends meet, nowhere near being able to buy a single house to live in, and having their benefits put into jeopardy by people who call them lazy while they make millions of dollars for owning empty houses and doing absolutely nothing. What an absurd, corrupt society we, the people, allow to exist. It really is amazing, isn't it? These people in charge have more than they could ever spend for not only the rest of their lives, but also for the lives of their children and grandchildren. Yet that isn't enough for them. Through the politics and propaganda of pitting the public against themselves, they manage to accumulate that level of obscene wealth without the public turning against them. That's almost like winning the lottery, yet that still isn't enough. Because
again, I mean, he's hitting on a bunch of correct points here, like hitting it on the money. But it's because of a lot of rulings and systemic problems, generally speaking, by a lot of people within power. Like I said before, it's a whole fucking system. The state, fundamentally speaking, of the United States, the state apparatuses, the systems that exist, it's all fundamentally broken, right? All of it is broken. It is just a complete fucking disaster all the way down at every fucking level. And it's because with the stuff that I was pointing out earlier, the people in power, simply put, do not have the political will to want to do anything about it. That's what it is. Nobody wants to do anything about the situation. And as a result, it's been allowed to deteriorate to this position. And like I said before, with a lot of like Gen Xers, for example, because they're, I guess for like lack of a better term, the current problem children, quote unquote. The reason why a lot of those people are generally as like weirdo conservative as they are is simply just due to the fact that it has been, I suppose for like lack of a better term, not I suppose for lack of a better term, basically they have been not given many opportunities throughout their lives because a lot of that has been stolen away from them because of a lot of people in power, the boomers that were in power before them. And they have allowed the material conditions throughout the country to get significantly worse. Right? Like, I mean, these guys all used to be like the hippies fighting the good fight for a justice against like U.S. imperialism in Vietnam. And what they do now? They're like old curmudgeon-y fucking assholes that will at every instance pull up the fucking ladder from under them because they had theirs. Screw you. So I'm the only one who gets to benefit because, hey, guess what? I had mine. So you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps in order to get yours. It's just fucking, it's abhorrent to say the least, but not really surprising whatsoever because this has just been the sort of basis of what America has been built on, and it's been taken to, I suppose, like its ideological fucking extremes.
Greed is like a disease, an insatiable monster. They're willing to collapse society just to hoard more. They're willing to risk that at the very least. They're willing to push the envelope further and further, no matter how precarious it gets, and destroy countless lives just to have even more than they can ever use. Rather than live in a healthy, happy society where they still have gargantuan levels of wealth above and beyond everyone else, they'd be more willing to lord over a wasteland. Psychopaths are currently in the driver's seat, and we're all in the passenger seat right now, nearly at their mercy. And I say nearly because maybe we can muster the will to collectively reach over and wrestle control of the steering wheel away from them. And I certainly hope that we can, because the way things are going right now, the psychopaths are steering us toward a cliff. And I really do believe we're at our last chance to stop it. And even if we did stop it, enormous amounts of damage have already been done, some of it probably even irreversible. Out of all the absurdities that contribute to this mess, the one that I'm about to tell you has to be the most bizarre, and it is this. Most of the people who support the insane wealth hoarding, the defilement of our social safety net, and the corrupt politicians who make all of that possible at the expense of the rest of us fancy themselves as good Christians. There are people right now who consider themselves devout Christians who are glad that many of their fellow Americans might not be getting food benefits.
Yeah, nonsensical. Yeah, like the idea that these people pretend to be like good old fucking Christian boys, and it's fucking stupid. It's like, get the fuck out of here. No, you people are not fucking Christians. Like, you're willing to let your fellow fucking man, woman, child, just, or those in between, just go hungry for what exactly? Wait, what? Why? Oh, because you want to make a couple of extra fucking bucks? Like I said before, the broader fucking consequences of a conservative evangelicism just playing out fucking perfectly right in front of our fucking eyes.
They get angry that there's a federal judge fighting against it and call the judge things like a radical liberal activist just for wanting the government to adhere to its previously agreed upon obligation to provide the poor with food assistance. Those opposed to that call themselves Christians. They cheer on the billionaires controlling our government. They're fans of the literal richest man on earth, and they call themselves Christians, a word that announces you are of Christ. You follow Jesus, a man who championed the poor, who fed the poor, who denounced the rich, who said the last shall be first, and who most relevantly and incontrovertibly scorned hypocrisy. That's who they claim to follow. Such a bizarre state of affairs could never be written into fiction because no author would think it believable enough to put pen to paper. Yet that's our reality right now. When their private messages are leaked, when they think they're safe to say what they truly feel, what do they talk about? They talk about wanting to see people killed. They talk about gas chambers. They talk about wanting ethnic cleansing. They use every bigoted slur imaginable. They talk about their reverence for Hitler. They have American flags with swastikas hanging in their homes. But when their public face is on, they pretend to be offended about being called a Nazi. Meanwhile, their leaders are more upset that there was a leak than they are about the actual content of the leak. Never, ever believe anything they say ever again. All they do is lie. So for all you religious people who argue that we need religion in society and in government to help keep us on some sort of moral path, I say to you, look at our current reality. Look at all the religious people championing the immorality all around us, and all the politicians who use their religion as a vehicle for their corruption. And tell me again about how we need your religion to save society. Tell me again how your religion will make things better. I don't even need to make the argument against you anymore. Reality itself has already done that for me. You're living in it. All you need to do is honestly open your eyes and ears. Given our current state of affairs, not to mention the countless historical examples that aren't as glaringly obvious because we didn't have to live through them as we are through the current example, it should now be crystal clear that your religion does not mitigate immorality, it facilitates it. It doesn't fix our society. Rather, it just becomes yet another corrupt institution. The argument is over, and it was won by reality. All that remains is your willingness to accept the result. That's the true obstacle. Because if you're supporting what's going on right now and calling yourself a Christian, then I have no idea who you think Jesus was. Someone who took from the poor and gave to the rich? Someone who did not feed the masses, nor cured the sick, but instead told them all to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, while he himself hoarded as much as he could? Is that who you think Jesus was? Or do you assuage your own greed by using the cop-out that Jesus didn't do it through a government, as if that matters to a needy child, as if one of the most efficient government systems for helping the poor is not as good as just blindly relying on the generosity of a society that has repeatedly proven to be hopelessly infected by greed? A Republican Christian is the most glaring example of cognitive dissonance that exists. It's profound hypocrisy, and it's all around us. Navigating.
I'm glad that he's saying. So I'm not really saying like much of anything right now because again, I am glad that he is saying all of this because again, yeah, these people are incredibly fucking hypocritical. Don't believe anything that comes out of the mouth of a fucking Republican. They are all charlatans. They are all freaks. They are all liars. Believe nothing that comes out of the mouths of these people. They believe in nothing fundamentally. Fundamentally, they believe in nothing. And everything that they say should not be listened to. It is not agreeable. They are liars. Every single one of them. All a bunch of liars. All of them. But unfortunately, we currently exist in a fucking society where it's just like, oh, the people generally like to believe in the infallibility of the fucking institutions, and that these people are like, oh, they're going to be our fucking saviors for Christ or whatever, and are going to do everything possible in order to improve the lives of all the material conditions for literally everyone. No. That's a bunch of poppycock. That's a bunch of hooey. And I'm glad that people like Dark Matter is making this recognition, because it's the exact same thing that lefties have been saying for a very long time. And the only question that now remains is how, if someone like him is willing to take the next step and also acknowledge that this is a problem with the entirety of the society, because this isn't just a Republican problem, this is also a Democrat problem as well. The Democrats also significantly contribute to this system of, honestly, for lack of a better term, abhorrence. This miserable, wretched system that we currently call, I don't know, fucking capitalism or whatever. They are the ones who cause this problem and make the conditions on the ground significantly worse for people. And again, I'm glad that a lot of people are starting to make the recognitions. I think it is important for people to begin to make the recognitions and acknowledge the problems within society, because there's a lot of fucking problems. There's a lot of issues that need to be talked about and focused on. And I think, I don't know, I prefer to remain like hopeful, like have the hoping pill and say like, I think like people are starting to recognize more and more that basically everything around them is getting worse, and no one is currently here to really save anyone, because I don't really think that anyone is going to be saved. I don't think the Democrats are going to do anything, because they are also complicit in a lot of the actions from the Republican Party as well. They are. Simply put, they are also fucking complicit in a lot of the shit that's going down right now. So I think it is important to have all of the necessary recognition needed to be like, yeah, everything is getting worse around us for the time being, and we all need to basically bandy together in order to be able to, I think, for like lack of a better term, survive the fucking oncoming storm and build community with one another if we want to be able to survive the oncoming, I suppose, storm that is going to be coming towards us, hurtling towards all of us, as the rich continue to further consolidate power under themselves, and everything gets worse and worse and worse. There's only one thing that people can rely on consistently in order to be able to live and be able to survive the oncoming onslaught. It's community, it's each other. That's the most important thing that we still have, that, well, even the rich and the corporations are trying to take that away from us with stuff like a lot of the AI companion videos and a lot of stuff like this. And I've talked about this historically speaking consistently. a lot of the corporations, after the pretty much what was slated to be the fall of capitalism as a result of the Great Depression, it was looking like it was pretty much fucking over for the corporations and the rich. It was done. It was over. That shit was. It was not going to make a fucking comeback. And it was pretty much slated for it to just be, honestly, for lack of a better term, completely and utterly over. That's it. It was done. The communists and socialists were going to be able to take over. But then the New Deal saved capitalism, and it gave these stupid, greedy motherfuckers, all these rich fucking oligarchs and motherfuckers, the ability to band together in order to advocate for their material conditions to be on top once again. Right? So like, I mean, simply put, like, not like, not to belabor this point over and over and over again, because I've talked about this consistently at this point, but the main thing that goes on consistently is the fact that there are so many people within power, and the corporations have worked tirelessly for decades, because after the World War II was concluded, it was pretty much over. More or less, the party that existed within Congress, within the United States of America, was effectively a uniparty. Effectively. Both Republicans and Democrats pretty much agreed on the exact same stuff, and that is, yeah, we should tax the living fuck out of rich people, and also basically make it such that people have like some baseline material conditions that are maintained. Obviously, guess who did not agree with that shit? Oh, it was the fucking rich. Of course, the rich did not agree with that stuff. And they have fought tooth and nail to basically make it such that it comes to this current juncture that we find ourselves under at the moment. And they have been successful. They have won. Simply put, like, they have won. They've won. And it is such that we are, I guess, essentially back in the position where it's just like, yeah, like, I'm really not surprised by any of this, I think, whatsoever, because it's just been allowed to happen. People fell asleep at the wheel because of stuff like suburbanization and the destruction of fucking unions. Social bonds within society were allowed to deteriorate and basically become nothing, I guess, for lack of a better term. Essentially get to the point where it was easier and easier for a lot of these people to divide and conquer and make it such that you have to blame literally anything else. The inner city black or whatever. The Mexican that has taken your job away from you. Despite the fact that the only people that Congress and the people in power listen to are all of these rich fucking assholes who have been working tirelessly, and I mean tirelessly, since the advent of the New Deal to actively undo that. And I'm going to refer to George Carlin here again. They want your fucking Social Security money back. They want that shit back because they were upset about the fact that they lost their Social Security money. Unironically, with the corporations and the rich, they simply just want to have, and I'm glad that people, liberals, are starting to recognize this more and more. They don't want just some of the money. They want all of the money. They want, if they could somehow Voltron themselves into a world government to have full control under themselves, because again, like I've said before, conservatives and the rich want to maintain one thing and one thing only, and that is a system of control and of hierarchy. That's what they only care about, and that's the only thing that they fundamentally believe in under themselves. And the reason why conservatives want to maintain that fucking system of hierarchy and control is because they believe themselves to be a part of that hierarchy, that they have a place within that fucking hierarchy, that they are at least above someone else. It's unironically like the meme with the dude, with the like really rich guy with all the cookies behind him, and him pointing to the final cookie on the plate, and there's like a black guy on one side and the white guy on the other side, and the super rich dude in the fucking tuxedo convincing the white dude that guy, the poor dude with the wants to take the final cookie that's on the fucking goddamn plate. Whereas both of them basically have no fucking cookies, and they're not looking right behind the dude in the fucking tuxedo who has all the fucking cookies behind him. So again, belaboring a bit of a point here, the main sort of issue here, generally speaking, and I'm glad that liberals are beginning to recognize this more and more, is that conservatives, what they fundamentally care about and believe in, and that is one thing and one thing only, that is maintaining a system of control and hierarchy under themselves. That is all that these people have ever, and I mean have ever, fundamentally believed in. That is it. And if that means causing a little bit of suffering for the classes and the people that they want to pretend to care about in order to hurt someone else significantly more, that is an acceptable proposition. They are totally okay with that. They don't give a shit about any of that stuff. So like I've said before, the thing with fucking conservatives, and they will do consistently maintaining, is the maintenance of systems of hierarchy and control. They will do anything possible in order to do that, and that means allowing the rich people to be able to rob the fucking treasury and then go out the back door with the fucking money in tow. This is a consistent thing with all these motherfuckers, and I'm glad that more and more people are starting to come to that realization that the main problem is with all of these stupid rich fat cats at the top of the fucking totem pole and all of their stupid apparatchiks that are like circling the wagons in order to fucking defend them, because they also ostensibly benefit significantly more and more with all of those stupid rich assholes currently in power, because they get all their money from them for their fucking re-election campaigns. As I have said before, this is something that needs to be actively rejected, and that there is only one thing that can always be relied on for a sort of safety and emancipation for the working class, and that is belief in community and in one another. That is the only sort of solution to the current mess that we currently find ourselves under. But yeah, I'm belaboring a little bit of a point just to talk about like some history here, because again, like with the current sort of like AI companion stuff, this is just the next sort of step in the further erosion of people's ability to be able to socialize with one another, so they can't band together in order to take a look upwards and see who is really making their lives worse. Because that's what it's fundamentally all about with these people. They want to do everything possible to maintain their control and the hierarchy that is currently in place because they benefit from it. In any case, I'm belaboring a little bit of a point here. There's not really much else to say here besides, of course, it was a good video here by Dark Matter. I agree with a lot of the criticisms here. He's pretty much on the money with a lot of the stuff that he's saying, but it's not just the Republicans that are this problem. They are the current sort of topic du jour, the ones who are significantly enforcing the hierarchy. The Democrats also have their part to play in all of this. It's a completely broken, rotten society and system, and all of it, I mean all of it, needs to be undone, done away with, and thrown out of the fucking back with the bathwater. I have no idea if that's how that saying says. So, but overall, it's good criticisms. It's good to see that a lot more liberals are starting to have more material analysis, because at this point, and with the stuff that I've explained before, if people are not allowed to have some form of base material conditions, everything is just going to get worse for everybody involved, even for the rich, who have seemed to have lost that sort of recognition that if they don't maintain some baseline material conditions for the poor, they're going to start to look upward and see and be like, I wonder why these guys have so much more in comparison for us, in compared to us. Maybe we should start taking a look at those guys upstairs and see if we can get something from them specifically. But unfortunately, we live in a sort of like culturally dead time where even the sort of people in power and the rich are also, I think, complete fucking utter morons. And so they are probably going to be completely blindsided by the inevitable sort of populist uprising that's going to honestly potentially take, I don't know, like the world by storm. I'm not really sure how to say this, because something is coming, right? Generally speaking, this sort of status quo can't be maintained for this long. Something is going to break eventually. And what is it going to be? Is it going to be the state? Is it going to be the rich? Or is it going to be the working class? Ultimately, that's a question that I cannot have, well, an answer for, because it's impossible to know. And I know where I'm personally staking my claim, and that is with some form of emancipation for the working class and improvement of material conditions for them. Because honestly, fuck all these like stupid, rich, annoying, limp-dicked, limp-wristed, dumb motherfuckers that are currently in fucking power, because they are stupid, they are annoying, and they simply want one thing fundamentally for all of us, and that is our fucking suffering. I don't think there's really much else to say besides I'm just glad that liberals are starting to have more recognition of the current material reality that we have, that we currently have ourselves under. Better late than never, I suppose.